on screens, it's a plot to drop the IQ. Fighting amongst each other over rumors that don't like you. Prefer us trapped in melancholy with the wood ones of holly. Suggestions that obliterate to camouflage the folly. Attempted mental robbery, executed sloppily. The pomp proceed as mockery and walk the talk with me. Put the hands up to touch the Akasha, cause you know deep down there's something bigger than your wallet.
Sweet eternal balance of all that is good, true, and beautiful, friends. Welcome back to Rogue Soul, where tonight is the winning report, where we will look at all of the news all over the world, but with an eye towards seeing through any agendas, any bias, any lack of critical thinking that might be going around, as well as remembering that we are, in fact, primarily soul, and that this physical experience is a thing we're doing for a second, which is very important, but not primary. Eternal soul always outweighs our physical reality. And so let's keep that in mind as we move through the physical reality. And otherwise, let's also remember, I would love for you all to go to roguesoul.org in order to check out my books, see the channel messages from the spiritual ancestors in book form via the key of transformational healing, and all endings are beginnings, and also my fictional trilogy, also channeled but fictional. And so really fun look at humanity's passage through the yugas, the cycles of golden age to dark age and beyond. Here we are in the Kali Yuga of the Kali Yuga. It's a bit rough, might get rougher. You can also visit my Substack at rogueways.substack.com, and on that Substack you'll see some helpful messages about moving through the Kali Yuga of the Kali Yuga, also channeled from the spiritual ancestors, as well as my writing on various things, philosophy that's a fun way to say it, religion, history, health and wellness, and all sorts of other things. There's lots of content there for free. I love when people use it to keep in touch, to read up on those neat articles, and also to become a paid subscriber is very helpful for me. Supports me in what I do. All this content I otherwise create is free. Constantly putting out that which will help you in various ways. My website and the rogueways.substack.com are all just full of good stuff to support you as you move through the Kali Yuga of the Kali Yuga. So thanks for being here and being you. Thanks for your support. And thanks for being a paid member on rogueways.substack.com. And let's get to it. Of course, really weirdly, we have Macron was speaking. I don't even know about what. I don't even care. But his eye just began to fill with blood. And I mean, I hope he's okay, I guess. Technically, not really. Don't care. I think he's a pretty satanic individual. But really weird to just have your eye filled with blood. Some people are saying that's a sort of mini stroke, and that it will often precede a major stroke. So maybe. The other thing that's interesting is this seems to happen to a lot of politicians. We have, I think it was Bernie Sanders was on stage, and it happened to him. I think Biden was on stage. It seems different from the black goo / black eye club. But maybe not. Like, maybe it is related, because it seems to be the same eye every time, which is the left eye, I believe, right? So who knows if it's connected or not, or if it really is just kind of random. And, maybe politicians also have a more stressful life. Maybe they're more likely to have strokes. I'm not really sure, but pretty interesting. So that just happened to Macron again. I'm sure you can find all kinds of fun, supposedly occult and esoteric content about that. See what's going on with him on the spiritual level for sure. Babylon Bee has a funny that they released, which is Democrats' food pentagram, which they released in response to RFK Jr.'s reforming of the food pyramid, where he reversed it, put it on its head, and now literally the same organization, but yes, eat more meats and dairies and cheeses and also fruits and vegetables, and then lay off, maybe have some whole grains, but not so much, and everything else don't eat. And that's actually probably the best advice most people could ever be given. But Democrats' food pentagram is an upside down pentagram, and it says it's the 5 pillars of it are vaccines, seed oils, soy milk, insects, and Somali food. I love it. It was pretty funny. Obviously it's not real. It's the Babylon Bee. I hate that I even feel the need to say that, but I've had people not realize that I was reposting the Babylon Bee, fully understanding that it's a joke, that it's satire, that it's joking. and being like, you didn't even know that that wasn't real. And I'm like, well, no, I mean, that's why I reposted it because I thought it was hilarious. Like, did you think that I thought it was real? um, which is so sad. Whatever. The world is just so ready to like attack and just like jump down throats and just like rip people apart and see things as like a threat that aren't a threat. And man, people are really deeply at a loss. And I was talking recently about this with someone, and they were like, people are just out of resources. We're not talking about money, right? We're talking about like mental and emotional resources. And the sad thing about that is it's really easy not to be unresourced in that way. Like, it's so easy to turn off the TV and not get on social media, and then you will be resourced. I mean, like, you will get all your energy back because you won't be sitting there just caught up in the propaganda, in the bias, in the hate stream, like, in the doom scroll, in the reactivity. Like, it's not hard. You go outside for 5 minutes and put your feet on the earth and just sit and breathe. Breathe deep into your belly. Like, just do it, dude. It's getting ridiculous. So I mean, I do too. I need to do it too, right? I have to keep myself also, meditating and connecting and all of that. But geez, it's rough out there. So yes, I know it's a joke. Thank you, anyone who wasn't sure. So German authorities have forced Lexus to turn off the parking heating uh, option in these cars if they're a gas car. So you have this option, right, where you can like preheat your car from afar. You can like turn it on, it'll start running, it'll, maybe heat the seats up, it'll at least get it to where you can turn the heat right on if you're going to go out and get into it and you're ready to go. Everything's defrosted, it's easy. So if you have an electric car in Germany, you can still do that. But if you have a gas car in Germany that does that, they turned the feature off remotely. So we've talked about this for years, about this ability of if they have access to turning anything in your phone, in your devices, in your car off or on, that they will use them arbitrarily based on whatever they decide is appropriate. And in this case, it's greenwashing. It's the green scheme, right? It's the climate alarmists. They're saying, well, gas, is bad for the environment, and so you can't just run your car when you're not in it. And so we're turning that off. So you can't have that function. You paid for the car. You didn't pay less for it because that option might be taken away from you, which is what it should be if it even is allowed. If we're going to put up with that in this world, then you should at least pay less for the car because the option doesn't work. Right? It's like when you go to an Airbnb and they said they have a hot tub and then they're like, oh, it's not working. And I'm like, then, oh, give me part of my money back. You said you had a hot tub, you don't, right? I'm sorry, it doesn't work right now. I get that can happen, but like, this was part of the deal. This is part of what I paid for. Same thing, right? So at least give them some of their money back. Nope, we're just going to turn it off and you're just going to deal with it. So Germany, not free. This is the technocratic nightmare that might be coming for all of us if we're not careful. So that's that. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem says no plans exist to pull out of Minnesota. We did discuss the Insurrection Act, and yes, that's been going around. The Insurrection Act has been discussed. It is. Again, people like freak out about all of this stuff, and they're like, "You bitch! Like you bitch! You're defining things correctly and like noticing things correctly." And I'm like, dude, you can't attribute what you think that I know or don't know, what I feel or don't feel, what I approve of or don't approve of when I say things like, "This does fit the definition of an insurrection." The state is essentially declaring resistance from, division of, lack of support for, antagonism towards the federal government. I like it. If a state wants to do it, do it. I'm not against it. But don't pretend it's not an insurrection. The people who are out just protesting en masse against ICE, it may or may not insurrection. I don't know. Like each one of them has a totally individual reason for being there for sure. But if you want to argue those organizations that they are in a part of, or reacting to the call to come out to do that, that those organizations are not insurrectionists is also a lie. They're very much, their stated goal most of the time is to disrupt or overthrow the state. So again, like, yeah, it might be an insurrection. That's not weird. for the federal government or Noemi, Christy Noem, to come out and say, yeah, we talked about insurrection. Like, I mean, you'd be weird if you didn't. It'd be bizarre if you were a federal government, and you were looking at a state doing all this and you just didn't talk about that. So yeah, of course they're going to talk about it. It's what's happening in Minnesota because of all of this propaganda about ICE and the way that it's being flamed. So I'm sure we'll come back to this throughout these posts I have saved to talk to you about. Iran is also the next top issue going on. Iran is having their big revolution, very divided amongst all quadrants. Like the Democrats are divided how they feel about it, the Republicans are divided how they feel about it, the alternative media is divided about how they feel about it, the conspiracy theorists are divided about how I mean, there is no unity on this at all in any space. And so you might love the Iran revolution that's going on. You might hate it and think that it's an Israeli plot and that U.S. is also plotting against Iran to overthrow them and regime change and all of that. It's all of the above. Again, you don't have to pick one. The people are actually revolting. All evidence points to, yes, a massive uprising is happening to overthrow the very religious Islamic regime and go back to the secularism that they had before. That's their hope. That's what they would like. And so that's happening. Does Israel benefit potentially? Yeah. Would they maybe support it? For sure. Would the U.S. benefit potentially? Yes. Would they potentially support it? For sure. Are they potentially also running ops and propaganda and whatever? Yeah, of course. Always, in every way, for everything, for sure. Does that make it wrong? That's up to you to decide, right? If it's up to me, I say, yeah, overthrow the Islamic government, have a secular government, at the very least, have a secular government. And then perhaps also you'll get, your freedoms back and all these other things. For sure, that's what I would like for any country. Absolutely. And if it happens to benefit Israel in some way, just like Venezuela, oh well, I'm not really worried about that. They're going to be benefited by some things and not others, and it's not my central concern. My central concern is, can this nation be free and be better for the people who live there? And are they the main impetus for making this happen? Yes, it goes back to this. People are like, well, the U.S. fomented it, they encouraged it, they promoted it. Israel encouraged it, they promoted it. Fine, but you can't actually make an inorganic revolution. You can promote the elements that would have already been likely to rise up. You can support them in their rise, but you can't actually just create it out of scratch. So it exists. The sentiment exists. The people want it. So I think it's silly to criticize it as just like a U.S. or Israeli sort of op. It doesn't even make sense. To say that they're in on it is perhaps very accurate, and that's fine. But then to dismiss it as wrong because of that also doesn't make sense. Things are more nuanced than that. So that seems to be what's going on with Iran. Trump has threatened to invoke the Insurrection Act. We heard that also from Christy Noem, that they talked about it. Again, that makes sense, whether we like it or not. It makes sense. It's a normal thing to do. Thousands of Somalis are allegedly forced to leave the U.S. as the Trump administration has ended their temporary protected status. We'll see if they actually leave or not, but that is one way of going about this that I think is intelligent. The temporary protected status does not give you citizenship or any sort of legal rights. It is temporary, and you've been protected for the time that you had it, and now it's gone. And so you always knew that going into it, that this was a temporary thing. It's literally in the name. And so you always understood that you might have to return from where you came. Just like anybody with that type of, protection or, temporary visa or any of these things. This is what always everybody knew. So it's good. Another way that we are perhaps getting rid of some problems in our country, which is great. The New York City officials are furious after ICE has detained an illegal immigrant council staffer on Mamdani's crew. So a New York City council worker Democrats want released has been in the country illegally since 2017 and has a criminal record. Yeah, people are going to be upset because they're so incapable of thinking about this clearly. Again, if you're an illegal immigrant, especially if you have a criminal record here, you might get deported. Just because somebody somewhere likes you and has given you a position on their team doesn't mean you're more valid in staying here. Sorry if you didn't know that. That's just how it goes. So yeah, that's going to be very divisive, but it makes sense. This is bizarre. The UK is telling veterans aged 65 to prepare as they're set to increase the age for calling upon the Strategic Reserve from 55 to 65. The UK Army has shrunk to its smallest size in more than 200 years. 200 years. And so they're going to call on these people that 65-year-olds? Good God. The UK is in such a bad position right now, and especially because they seem antagonistic to the US and don't know that things are going to go that well for them. Europe can't really do much on its own. There's not a lot of power there. They're snuggled right up to Russia, who is a pretty dominant power. And otherwise, it's sort of like, do you have ties to the US or not? Is the US going to come save you or not? And it sounds like they're not very concerned about that. So I don't know. I don't know if it's going to happen, but it's interesting. Someone pointed out, well, they've got all these immigrants. They're all fighting age men. Where are they? They've just been shoveling in the immigrants. They're all men. Almost all of them are men. Very few women coming. Almost no children coming. Almost all like 20 to 40-year-old men. Young, strapping men. And those people aren't going to be made to fight, but your 65-year-olds are? Okay, UK, you do you. I mean, it sounds like the worst possible plan. It sounds like the best plan if what your goal is to destroy the UK from the inside. So fight who? Probably Russia, with 65-year-old men and not the immigrants that you've shoveled in. Whew, you're gonna get destroyed quick. Not a good sign for the UK. We've also got these people who are out against ICE in Minneapolis, who are, it's essentially rioting. There's a lot of property destruction. There's a lot of just like wanton, just like random, pointless, senseless destruction of violence, and a lot of obstruction of ICE's legal activities, which is never going to work out all that well for anyone. But they've also now apparently smashed up a car of one of these agents. They're the weapons out of it, which I know feels to them like this glorious just achievement, like, oh my God, you guys, look at us, we are real revolutionaries now. We got some guns from the ICE agent's car. But what sucks for you is you filmed it all. There's like anywhere they are, most of them are filming and live streaming. And so all of them are documenting their crimes. This is why I go back to that place where I say, I know you're not serious. Because if you actually felt like there was a fascist threat and you were the resistance, you wouldn't film it on your phone and you wouldn't live stream it. Unless you're just really dumb. If I really felt like I needed to now, it was the point where I have to fight my government. I have to fight agents who are armed and I have to organize with people to do it. Not going to take my phone with me. And if I see anyone with their phone, I'm going to smash it because they're a threat to the movement. Like, pretty straightforward, guys. I'm not even trying to help, this, because I think you're all actually really misguided and misled, and that this is not the time to stand against anything. But if you're going to do it, like, that's so sick. All these people are now ID'd. Like, the people who did that crime are all ID'd. They're all going to be arrested. And I'm not going to be sad. Don't live stream your crime, you guys. Don't be your best star witness against yourself. Or do. I mean, do whatever you want, but that's pretty dumb. So This is also funny. There's this thing going around where people are like, what kind of future is this? And they're like freaking out about this dystopia we're in. And like, oh, and they're like, this has to be AI. And it's not. And it is a party at Trump's Mar-a-Lago. And in this party, people are dressed in sort of like, people are calling it Rococo, this sort of Marie Antoinette, like frilly, lacy, like big bouffant dresses and whatnot, bows and all of this gilding. And then they have dog masks on, and they're like quite realistic dog masks. So people were saying this is furry. Well, no, it's not. If you look at furry kinks in the furry community, they have very like anime dog masks. Like they're very cartoonish. These are very realistic dog masks. These people are wearing dog masks that look like they're dogs. Like, and so they're dog-headed, dressed up, weirdos who are dancing at Mar-a-Lago, and people are like, this is so crazy. And I'm like, I looked into it. I was like, is this real? Yes, it is. Okay, what is it? And they're like, oh, it's a benefit for this, humane society or this like dog organization. This like, I'm like, oh, I mean, like, well, then that's just what? That's like normal. You guys, like, just look at it for 5 seconds without your stupid reactive histrionic lenses on, and just ask yourself, what is it? And I know, like, if you're a normal person, you're like, the whole thing's bizarre. Well, it would seem bizarre to you if you don't go to balls and you don't dress up and you don't have millions of dollars. It does seem bizarre to you. You're right. And what you do seems bizarre to them. They're like, what are they doing in this tiny box? Oh, that's their bedroom? Like, yeah, it's a big divide, but like, it's not weird. It would be weird if it were like the, Eyes Wide Shut, we're all wearing antlers and pig masks and like, doing weird sex orgies. And maybe they did. Maybe it is Eyes Wide Shut. Maybe the dog charity is a cover so that they could all wear their furry masks and get weird. Who knows? But it's not actually that weird once you look into it, unless it is, which would be far below the surface, right? And not knowable to you or I. So ICE agents were ambushed in Minneapolis by 2 assailants wielding shovels from nearby apartments while agents wrestled a Venezuelan illegal immigrant to the ground after a car pursuit ended in a crash. As the officer was being ambushed and attacked by the 2 individuals, the original subject got loose and began striking the officer with a shovel or stick. They're not sure which. I think that person got shot as well. People are really upset about that as well. But again, yes, you're going to get shot if you attack an armed agent with a shovel. If your friends do or you do, you might not get shot, which would be crazy. But you might get shot, and that'd be normal. So yes, you are going to get shot if you do that. And that is, again, all of it's on film again. You can go check it out. Nothing untoward happened. As far as the shootings goes, again, seems justified. Might have to be proven in a court of law, but probably it would win. So would be pointless to do. We've seen over Iran, back to Iran, that the airspace was cleared above Iran. And so it seemed like perhaps there was going to be some big military operations or something going on, might have just been a big warning, like, look what we can do, flex sort of thing. Seems like what it was, because nothing did happen. But in that time, the only aircraft that went into Iranian airspace was Chinese. So the CCP seemed to be transporting perhaps some important equipment or supplies to Iran. So, we've talked about this again with Venezuela, with all these places. People are like, Israel, Israel, Israel. I'm like, I'm sure. I'm much more interested in the CCP and what their angle is and their involvement. And here we are again with the CCP involved in Iran, the religious Islamic dictatorship there, and maybe the U.S. on the other side of that. So there we are. Another reason for me personally to say, cool, let's kick out whoever's aligned with the CCP. Right? If the people want that and we can help them do it, seems good for all. It seems like a win-win-win. So yeah, that seemed to be there. This is again a person who I often encourage you guys to follow on Twitter. Inconvenient Truths is her handle, or sorry, that's her name on there. Jennifer Zeng, Z-E-N-G. It's actually at Jennifer Zeng 97. She's pretty cool. She's an ex-Chinese. She's a Chinese refugee, is what you should say. And so follow her for some good stuff. Democrats in Colorado have introduced a bill that would allow children to change their names and suppress records documenting that name change. But if a parent were to disagree or try to stop that, the child could then be removed from the home. Democrats want your kids. They want your kids and they want to mess with their genitalia. Should tell you everything you need to know about Democrats. So that bill is a pedo bill by some pedo lovers. And I think some of them think they're genuinely doing the right thing, but they're not. So that sucks. Hopefully it won't pass, but knowing Colorado, it just might. All right. Iran is saying, by the way, that Israel is like killing protesters in Iran, and that they're not, and so the US shouldn't, just come in and bomb them because Israel's the one killing protesters. And that could definitely be, that's the kind of thing I would say, yeah, that's the kind of horribly wrong, beyond propaganda, very potentially Israeli thing to do. But I'll say this too, just because it's true. It would also be a really good line to take if you were trying to get away with killing the protesters, because everyone would believe it. So it gets difficult. Is that actually what's happening, or is that the line you're fed so that you become sympathetic to the insanely repressive, horribly despotic Iranian regime? Right? So you at least have to ask the question. At least ask the question and notice your bias about it. Speaking of, again, Iran, or no, sorry, we're back to Beijing. China tells the Chinese firms to stop using US and Israeli cybersecurity software. Yeah, because they use the same tricks, right? Both sides are saying, yeah, you can have my software, I'll have your hardware, we'll all have back doors to each other. We'll all be able to spy on each other easily and fully. So yeah, if you want to not have that going on, you do have to stop using the enemy software or hardware. Minnesota Republicans are preparing to impeach Walz, even though he's stepping down, even though he's not running for re-election. They're going to aim to impeach him. He's definitely done seemingly many illegal, deeply illegal things, and so it's worth a try. This is a big win in Oregon. They're going to remove 800,000 voters from the electoral rolls for incorrect registration. So they're either not real people, like they're dead, they didn't provide the right documents, or in some other way, they're not actually legal to vote. So that's good. You would think Oregon wouldn't do that because they seem essentially like dead committed to having as many fake votes as they can, right? So good to see. Maybe we can have some real reform in Oregon too. Do we want to get into this? I guess so. This whole Greenland thing is also still going on. A lot of division about that, whether it's good or bad, who thinks what. Again, the people of Greenland, some of the politicians of Greenland seem like they want the US to sort of take over Greenland, make Greenland like another state. Take it from Denmark's reach, etc. Denmark, of course, doesn't. There's all these theories on why Greenland. Part of it for me is like the geomagnetic excursion and pole flip, and that Greenland might end up being a place that's quite tropical and very resource rich, and therefore would be a good place to already have sort of like arcs and seed vaults and these things in place. And the other thing that actually corresponds to that, believe it or not, is the technocrats' very deep interest in Greenland. This is someone called Finance-a-lot. Finance Lancelot on Twitter says, I spent today doing a deep dive into the billionaire Freedom City project in Greenland, and it's going to shock you what I've uncovered so far. The city is envisioned as a low regulation, techno-libertarian hub backed by figures like Peter Thiel, Mark Andreessen, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, and Sam Altman. What's weird is those people don't even like each other. Like they're not on the same sides of things, but they are all on the side of maybe this technological project, which is so fascinating. So it's backed by all those people, which means it's far more important than you or I probably even understands. And again, these people know about the geomagnetic excursion. They're not dumb people, and while it is hidden and suppressed for most of the public, these people are in the know about it. So it says this project is an AI-driven data center project with aims to capture rare earth mining in Greenland. While exact details on land purchases for the city itself remain undisclosed in public sources, the initiatives are concentrated in southern Greenland, where the island's primary rare earth mineral deposits are located. It includes sites like Kvanefjeld, in the whatever municipality, one of the world's largest untapped rare earth and uranium deposits. So the rare earth and uranium is definitely the surface value of Greenland. Another surface value of Greenland is the military, strategic, geopolitical wealth that is there. If you look at Russia and its access to us, it would be right past Greenland, and so having bases there and having more of a stronghold there would suit us if Russia and us ever came to heads. And so there's that too. But then under the surface, all of that is this geomagnetic excursion, techno utopia, perhaps, seed vault esque, planning. And all of these people are in on it. So very interesting that even the people who aren't on the same side, even of the sort of technocratic push, are all interested in Greenland and this potential city there. So interesting thread there, interesting to look into. And we'll see what happens with Greenland. The thing is like, even if it doesn't officially become, sort of protectorate or state of the United States, these companies could definitely go in there and do so much, because private, equity or private firms or private organizations like that, well, yeah, they're allowed to potentially buy up land and build, fascinating, technocratic, who knows what infrastructure, and get some rare earth minerals and all of that. That could happen despite that. So definitely multiple angles to look at here in this Greenland thing. Very interesting. Back to the shooting of Rebecca Good, or was that her name? I thought her name was Renee. I don't know. Maybe she went by Renee, but her legal name is Rebecca. Anyway, her father was on CNN, and I think it didn't go how they wanted it to go. If you didn't watch the video, he talks essentially about, how sad it is to lose his stepdaughter, or in-law, or whatever it was. I think stepfather. And it's sad, and nobody wants their daughter to die and whatnot. They seem to be trying to like goad him into just lay it out on ice, right? Like, get it out of your system about this guy that murdered your daughter in cold blood. And he's like, you know what? I don't blame him. I don't blame him. The whole situation is so unfortunate for everybody involved. It's no one's fault. No one should have really been in this situation to begin with. And then he says, and by the way, if everybody were sort of more attuned to like God and their faith, then none of this would have happened anyway. Not probably what they wanted to hear. Probably they were coaching him ahead of time, and he was just sort of like, yeah, totally, so that he could get on air and say those things, which again, people criticize Erica Kirk when she did it, but when he does it, I don't think that's going to get as much smoke, because he's not as high profile, but he's essentially saying the same thing she got shit for, which is, I don't know that he actually said the words "I forgive," but he just said it's just so sad, right, that anybody was involved in this. And there's an element of forgiveness in that. There's also an element of not laying blame on anyone, but also showing how everybody is accountable for their actions, right? And that the whole thing is sad. So very interesting. At least maybe more of us can take that approach of saying, yeah, you know what? It is sad she got shot. It is also sad that he had to shoot her, which is what I've been saying from the beginning. It's very rare that a person would be excited to shoot someone. It happens. They exist. People like that exist. It's much more likely that even if you thought you'd be okay with it, once it comes down to it and you do it, it's a different story. So it's sad all the way around, and maybe we can learn more. Maybe more people had a moment of reflection as they heard her father say these things. The U.S. Mint has suspended all sales of silver numismatic, which is coin products, as of today. The cost is not worth the benefit to them, because silver has gone up so much. So if you have silver, a lot of people are saying this is the time to sell, get your money. I think it was $90 last I looked, an ounce or whatever it goes by. And so big deal. Maybe you want to get your money. You're not going to buy any coins right now, unless you buy the ones that have already been produced. No new mints. I don't know when it'll come back, but it will. 30 ICE protesters were detained as of yesterday in various actions around the state. Again, you can protest, you can be peaceful, you can assemble, you can even blow your whistles and whatnot. But as soon as you start breaking into cars or ruining property or whatever, or getting in agent's face or, stopping them from doing their job, that all of that is then actionable and you might get arrested. So some people are getting arrested. I don't know if enough are, but the Danish foreign minister is saying that they will work with US to find a common way forward on Greenland. So looks like some progress might be being made there that is amenable to everyone. There was another journalist, I think it was Nick Sortor. I don't really know him. I see him on Twitter sometimes. I haven't done enough research to know like what his whole angle is, but he was there observing, which is what they love, right? They love legal observers. Everyone's a legal observer, unless you're on the wrong side and you have different opinions, and then no longer are you allowed to be a legal observer, and then they'll just kill you, right? So they attacked his car. Him and his someone, I don't know, cameraman, producer, someone were in their car, and this mob just surrounds them. If you watch the video, it's terrifying in the mindlessness and the immaturity of it. Again, showing that you're not serious people. You don't even really believe your own line that this is fascism and you have to fight the fascists, or else you wouldn't be there being like, is your penis small? Show us your dick. You're like, where are you? I mean, are you just, is this like a fetish? I mean, I know it is for some people. So like, it is for you too, I guess. And they're just, and then they start spray painting his car, and then they start chucking frozen bottles of water at the car, which again, you might not know this, but that could also be considered a deadly weapon, and you could also be shot if someone were going to defend themselves as you're throwing frozen bottles at them, because a frozen bottle can kill you. It's a hard object that you're chucking at someone's head. They would be perhaps justified in defending themselves with lethal force. So a regular person or an agent, anyone who you attack in such a way could perhaps legally defend themselves. So it's, again, if you want to fuck around, you might find out. You might not, but you might. And then if you're going to pretend like you had no responsibility in that and like it was completely unfair, you will be wrong and still potentially dead. Up to you. Give your life to that, fine, your choice. But we'll see, right? And so those bottles did break the windows. They did finally escape. The mob was trying to essentially, again, place themselves in front of the car, from their point of view, to keep them from leaving so that they could attack them, break down their windows, and potentially, threaten their lives. So pretty outrageous. And people are going to defend that. And I don't know how they're going to justify it in their hearts, but they will. They will. There is this amazing piece of propaganda that is nonetheless true, which is them saying ICE agent who was hit by Renee Good's vehicle suffered internal bleeding, causing everyone to laugh. So here's just technically, so a bruise is internal bleeding. It's not what people mean when they talk about internal bleeding, but it is actually internal bleeding. So words have meanings, and they have both the denotative meaning, which means the dictionary level meaning, the fine-tuned actual meaning, and then they have connotative meaning, which is what people mean when they say it, right? Which is often far different from the denotative meaning. So, when everyone started saying literally, I'm dead, literally, and like they didn't actually mean literally, that's a connotative version of literally, and people knew what they meant. It's okay to use it, technically, but it's not the actual meaning of the word. So did he suffer internal bleeding? For sure. Did you get bruised when a car hits you? Right? So if he had a bruise, yes, he did. Did he suffer like his organs were bleeding out inside of his body? Very unlikely. Just potentially possible. If he had some sort of like weakness there because of his prior injuries, yeah, it actually could happen. So totally dismissing it and laughing at it. Totally get it. I laughed too. Technically possible, and also really actually he did. It's just a stupid thing to say. it's a stupid thing to say. It's a smart thing to say because it is technically true, and a bunch of people who won't think too deeply will just be like, see, he suffered internal bleeding. It's not a smart thing to say of what you actually, if you want to be clear with people and what you mean, but brilliant piece of propaganda to say the least. Got a lot of people really upset. Everyone's upset about that one, or happy about it, depending on what side they're on. So it's fascinating. Perhaps a sign of how hard the economy is going around the world. Saks Global, just like Saks Fifth Avenue, right? Saks Global is filing for bankruptcy. So there goes another big brand potentially taking many years to actually disappear, but done for. Not a good sign. Trump says the U.S. needs Greenland for national security. Yep, we already talked about that. Leftist student was arrested for saying that he would kirk a GOP group at the University of Utah. He said he'd kirk them. He made shooting motions at himself and then at them multiple times. He acted like he was taking aim from afar through a rifle and sight, and said he would kirk them. So he was arrested for that threat. Most of the time, it's not actually illegal unless you also name a time, any kind of time. It could be so loose. It could be like, someday I'm going to kirk you. And that could be taken. You usually have to have some sort of timestamp on it. Why? That's just the law. So you say tomorrow or someday or next week or, next month or any of that. Then it gets to be the point where it's an actionable offense. You could actually be held legally accountable for it. Otherwise, I'm not sure that they actually have any ability to charge him with anything. Detaining him for a minute, arresting him, sure. I don't know that they booked him or charged him with anything, though, because I don't think they can. Unfortunately, maybe, but true. The city of Broken Arrow in Oklahoma has rejected the construction of a massive Islamic center. This is also very divisive. There's a lot of people who are like, why, we have freedom of religion, let people have whatever religion they want. And that's true and fair. And yes, we should. And at the same time, there's these areas that have been taken over by Islamic people and Islamic centers that literally you've, I'm sure, seen the videos. We've talked about them here on the Winning Report, have their children chanting death to America and talking about how if you die in a, terrorist, they don't call it terrorist, but if you die, in defending Islam or spreading the reach of Islam, that you're going to go to heaven and have all your, virgins and all that. Little kids are doing this in these Islamic centers. So there's something else going on besides just a freedom of religion, right? And I've talked about this before too. The westernized Muslims aren't doing that. But there's a whole new batch of people who've been brought in very intentionally via all sorts of programs, NGOs, and various factions within the United States to undermine the United States. And so some of these Islamic centers, like those ones in Texas, and there's some over on the East Coast that we've talked about, I'm sure also in Minneapolis and other places that are a bit extreme and technically connected to terrorism. And so then it's not just about religion now, it's about like the safety of people and your country, right? And your communities. And so I support them 100% in doing this. You're allowed to do this within your city or depending on your charters and your various constitutions and all of that, you do have these potentials. When someone puts in a permit to build something, the people have the ability to say, no, we don't want that here. And so these people were organized enough and cognizant enough, and they came together enough to do that. And I say all power to them. So win in Oklahoma. This is, oh yeah, that's right. This was a small town in Minnesota, grocery store. This woman was talking about how ICE came in to detain someone and remove them. They were an illegal immigrant. They had a crime rap sheet. Apparently, I don't know how, I guess just because it's such a small town, people know that. I've lived in a small town where you would definitely know that, so I get it. And so when the ICE got there to detain them, everybody apparently was like cheering and clapping, which you might think sounds dystopian, but I get it. If you've ever known of a menace in your community and they finally get taken down, like you cheer. Oh, I've had it. I've dated them. And, when they're breaking into everyone's house and everyone knows who it is and they're like getting away with it over and over again because of various connections they have in law enforcement, and they finally get caught, charged, and successfully put into prison, people cheer. Yeah. So you might think it's dystopian if you've never been in a situation like this, but she's describing it. She's like, not everyone's against ICE. Don't believe the hype. All this divisiveness, all this propaganda, all this psyop is going on, but there's real people having real lives that actually are impacted by some of these illegal immigrant criminals, and we are excited to have them gone. So it's a perspective you're not going to see as often because that's not the psyop. The psyop is to get you upset about ICE, and so I like to see it. I like to share things like that so that people at least see another perspective if they're capable of getting beyond their biases, emotions, and desires. Oh. We have this video also from Andy Neo. He's also great to follow if you don't follow him on Twitter, Mr. Andy Neo. And he shows video of another female in a car also trying to obstruct ICE, and the people around yelling, gun it, go, drive, like while an agent is, somewhere near the vehicle. And it's like they're just encouraging each other to get killed. They love it. They love it. There's people who literally have these videos you can watch too, who are like, as white women, you guys, we have to go put our life on the line. Renee Good showed us that, we've had our white privilege for far too long, and sometimes we have to be the ones who die instead of always, the black and brown people. And I'm like, you guys are so racist. But also, oh my God, you love being the martyr. Sure, go die. Suicide by cop all you want. Not gonna cry for you. Due to massive public opposition, the UK government has U-turned on its plan to roll out the mandatory digital ID. Told you. I told you. We'll do it here too every time. No one cares. No one wants it. No one gets it. There's not a big enough push for it. There's not enough people who even pay attention to all the psyops and the things to know that you thought that they should have had the real ID or the digital ID. Like, it would take so much to get it. Not saying it's never going to happen. It's possible. They want it bad. They're going to aim for it over and over again. But so far, every time they've tried this in the UK and the US over and over and over again, it just hasn't worked. Thank God. Hallelujah. Big win. The Department of Justice is investigating Renee Good's wife, Becca. So which one's Rebecca? Okay, so I guess the wife's Rebecca and this is Renee, and I don't know. They must have misspoke on the CNN article, but yeah, they're investigating her wife, Becca, for actions on the day of the shooting and her ties to militant far-left groups. Again, yeah, you get this high of a level of heat and smoke, they're going to go looking, and now you've drawn attention to every one of your organizations you were a member of publicly, because all these people brag about it. Again, if you actually thought you were in the resistance, that would not be how you did it. Even when I was a communist, we were smart enough to never use our real names with each other. We didn't know each other's real names. We didn't know where each other lived. Nothing. We didn't know anything about each other. That's it. It was weird because I'd be walking around Seattle years later and somebody would be like, hey, Corey. And I'd be like, oh, shit, I'm with like normal people. That's not my real name. And they'd be like, why did that person call you Corey? That's how it was. We were smart enough. We wouldn't have been live streaming anything we were doing. We were serious. These people are not serious. These people are not serious as evidenced by the wife yelling, why'd you have real bullets? After they shot her wife. What do you mean? Why did they have real bullets? This gives you everything you need to know about the mindset of these people. They're not serious. They don't actually even believe themselves. They are not in any way committed to an actual revolution of any kind. They're just out to get attention and live stream things and put things on TikTok and be martyrs or whatever. It's just that. It's psychological. That's it. And they don't even think that it is for reals. They think that ICE agents have fake bullets. Do they sometimes? Yeah, sometimes they do. Sometimes they just have pepper spray and rubber bullets and these sorts of things more often when they're expecting to encounter a crowd that might not specifically threaten their lives, but still needs to be held back. So they'll use non-lethal options for sure. Why would you assume that you get to run up on them or be in their face or anything and that they must use fake bullets if any bullets are shot? That's crazy. You're a crazy person. If you are out there and you're suffering under the delusion that ICE agents or any other agents don't have real bullets and you are safe no matter what you do and who you threaten, please rid yourself of the delusion. It's crazy. So yeah, they're going to investigate you, all the groups, all the people they can. Some of those groups have already been designated as terrorist organizations, which we've talked about before as well. And so bring it. They're going to bring it. You're not you're not who you think you are, and you're not doing what you think you're doing. It's not going to turn out how you think it's going to turn out. So yeah. Here's another interesting thing. All this Minnesota fraud, it's not an accident that the ICE PSYOP is working on so many people in Minnesota right when this fraud scheme is coming to the forefront, definitely trying to get you to do their work for them and keep this corrupt system going for them, right? But this was really interesting. We talked about last week how they shut down the schools in Minnesota until mid-February, the public schools. And I was like, well, that's pretty fishy because they clearly want everyone to be apparently like free to go protest or something. Ostensibly, they might be saying, look, we want to keep everyone safe from ICE, so we're just not even going to have school because they might come get people from schools or whatever. Parents as they're picking up their children, whatever. That could be why they said they were, but I was like, well, they're clearly giving everyone the green light to go riot. But this person has I think it's a better take. I actually think it's really probably the real reason. She said, don't you guys find it a little fishy that they're closing down schools in Minnesota until February during the exact same time that these daycares are being accused of fraudulent activity because those parents still have to go to work. So what's the plan for those kids? They're going to be put in daycare. Ooh, yeah. That's it, isn't it? Now all those daycares have real kids in them. How convenient is that? It's so good. Oh, I love that whoever that was that realized that. That's absolutely the reason. So good to know. Spread it around. Remember that one. Oh, also back to Iran. None of these are these are just in time order. They're not in any other particular order. So we bounce around a bit. But back to Iran. The brutal Islamist regime reportedly murdered up to 20,000 protesters, it was said. Other people said that's not even remotely true. At the very most, it was 12,000. Well, that's still 12,000 too many, by the way. Other people said even that is exaggerated. It might be 1,000. And then it's really hard to know. It's hard to know, but the people there are definitely being killed. Both the protesters and people who were arrested for protesting and then sentenced to death instantly, which, legally is technically a different category, right? I think Trump said, if you murder any protesters, I'm coming after you. And so they were like, oh, well, then we'll just arrest them and then charge them and then find them guilty and then, kill them so that it's not killing protesters. Interesting way to try to get around that. I don't know that will stop Trump from whatever he might do. But we'll see. But yes, big death toll at least. How many were actually killed? Probably not 20,000, probably still in the thousands. Very sad. Pray for the people of Iran. Trump did flip off a guy and mouth "fuck you," or maybe he actually said "fuck you" to him. This really upset some people. I think it's awesome. The guy yelled at him "pedophile protector." As far as pedophile protection goes, Trump's the least pedophile protector of them all. But sure, yell pedophile protector at him if you want. And he's welcome to yell "fuck you" back. I'm not mad. You can each yell at each other all you want. Don't know why anyone cares. James O'Keefe got undercover footage of the Secret Service agent assigned to J.D. Vance leaking sensitive security information about where and when he would be certain places. Yeah, that's the Secret Service protecting your vice president. So good on James O'Keefe. Somehow those people need to find better ways to protect themselves. You would think they'd know. right? I don't know. I don't know how you do it. You hire like a group and then they could be infiltrated. You have people who are trained and supposedly loyal, and then they can be, you know, turned against you. And how do you protect yourself at that level? I'm not sure. I know most of you like don't want them to be protected. So so maybe that makes you happy. Republican House Oversight Committee is going to hold Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton in contempt. Pretty cool. If that this is again, they didn't show up to testify about Epstein. They were subpoenaed and they ignored the subpoena, and so you can be held in contempt and then you can be arrested. Will they get arrested? God, I hope so. Just fun to watch. Would anything happen? I don't know. I don't even care. I just feel I would love that. Let's do it. Let's see the universe and the timeline in which that happens. Thank you, God. There was another person who was allegedly murdered by ICE on New Year's Eve. That didn't receive as much attention as Renee Good, so maybe you didn't even hear about it, but it was something people were upset about. That person did have an AR-15 and was just shooting. They called it meg dumping, like just shooting all over to celebrate New Year's, which is illegal. And then he turned his gun apparently at ICE agents who then shot him. So there's another, yes, justified shooting, if that is what happened. Okay. We got that. Oh, this is the, I can't believe you had real bullets. Why did you have real bullets? I'm like, oh, God. It's sad. It's like I said, since the beginning of this, most of these people aren't well. I mean, most people aren't well, let's be honest. Most of these people are especially not well. They're not emotionally well. They're not mentally well. And then they might also be not very intelligent. Remember, half of people aren't. So very likely they're falling into multiple of these categories, most of the people who are out there up against ICE. And so it's sad. It's sad that you were dumb enough to think that they didn't have real bullets. I can't imagine running up on a federal agent or a cop, pretending they didn't have real bullets, and thinking that no matter what I did, I wouldn't be negatively affected by it. I can't imagine some potential scenario where I am some sort of like freedom fighter against forces that far outweigh me and outclass me. And I can imagine dying in that. I can. I mean, I was a communist. I've been imagining this most of my life. I could see it. To get to that point, I'd have to have like a really much stronger argument than ICE is deporting illegal immigrants. But I also would not fool myself in pretending that I wasn't in deep and serious mortal danger as I carried these actions out. I'm not stupid. God. And again, then people are like, oh, so she deserved it? Nobody is even saying that. Who deserves what? Only God could know. How could I know? Right? Maybe she did. Maybe she didn't. It's really not anything we can know. But does it make sense? And is it legally justified? Yeah, it makes sense and it's legally justified. Whether you like that or not. And yeah, they have real bullets. Okay. And moving on. Trump canceled all diplomatic meetings with Iran. We already got Bill and Hillary Clinton. We already got that. We're ending the temporary status for Somalis. Iran has been suppressing Starlink and any transmissions. The massive protests have no opportunity, very little opportunity of getting any message out, any footage out, because Starlink has been shut down in Iran, and satellite dishes, and the regime has actually gone house to house looking for anything that could get communications out. So very suppressed there. And so it's really amazing that we know about it at all. And this is why hopefully you will talk about it and share it with anyone who might not know. Scott Adams died of cancer I know that he created Dilbert. I know that a lot of people liked him. I don't know much else about him. The big controversy was that he accepted Jesus Christ as his Lord and Savior right on his deathbed, and people are mad about it. They're like, you don't get to go to heaven. Like, you get to decide. Like, if Christianity is real, you're the one who decides whether or not that worked or not, you know? So funny, but rest in peace to that man. Eric von Daniken also died. He was the Chariots of the Gods guy. He got a lot of people interested in the alternative history, you know, giants, Nephilim, all these sorts of Anunnaki and all this sort of thing. And he's cool. I like Graham Hancock better. That's just who I was more into than Daniken. Daniken seemed to have some mistranslations and took some liberties with some things to sort of make he embellished a bit, and maybe that didn't do any favors to the actual evidence that is piles. There's piles and piles of it that, you know, human history goes far back beyond what we are told. But, you know, God bless him. He's cool. He was an awesome guy as far as we could tell, and he did great research, and he will be missed. He was loved by many. Hegseth, our Secretary of War, is talking about having AI, leading AI on every unclassified and classified network throughout the department. He's excited about that. Musk has introduced him at that exact speech and said that the goal of Space Force is to ultimately go beyond our star system to other star systems where we may meet aliens or discover long dead alien civilizations. Sure, you might. I don't think you're going to, but good luck to you. Meta has announced nuclear energy projects with 3 companies, Vistra, TerraPower, and Oklo, to unlock up to 6.6 gigawatts to power American leadership in AI innovation. I'm all for it. I'm all for the nuclear. Let's get it. Let's go. Call it a win. Cleanest energy and safest energy we've ever had. A group of AI industry insiders create a project called Poison Fountain, urging website operators to help poison the data used by AI models. It was only a matter of time. There's always the factions, you know, the cult. They're not really cult, right? But like kind of cult-like mentalities where they're like, this is it, or this is our thing. We're going to poison all AI as much as we can for the rest of time. They're sort of the anti-transhumanists, perhaps. I'm down with it. Let's see where this goes. If you can poison it, it needs to be made better, right? We need the antidote, so get your poison ready. It's pretty fun. The poisoners of AI have arrived. They've been there all along. This is just a more formal version of it. Autistic Barbie dropped. To glorify autism is disgusting. It's disgusting. Are kids with autism beautiful beings? Of course. Do you need to then like glorify autism? God, no. It is a horrifying illness, disease, dysfunction, whatever you want to call it. And no one deserves that. Please don't glorify it. So here's this Barbie. She's got her headphones on. She's got her communication board. And she has a stimming device, a fidget spinner, and she's able to stim. Her arms move more than most Barbies, so she can stim, which is when, you know, a lot of autistic people will tap themselves or touch themselves in various ways, or they'll rock back and forth and do these sorts of things, and they call it stimming. It's also could be described as self-soothing or agitation, extreme agitation. So again, not something to glorify. So what's funny is people are like, oh, I fixed it for you. And they're like, vaccine injured Barbie. That's way more appropriate. Don't glorify it. Call it what it is. And sure, some kids might be like, oh, it's like me. I'm represented. And that's great, I guess. I don't know, man. If you need that, I guess you needed that. U.S. virtual embassy in Iran says leave Iran now, if that wasn't obvious. Trump announced any country doing business with Iran is going to pay a 25% tariff. The state of Minneapolis, or the Twin Cities of Minneapolis, St. Paul, sue the Trump government to stop an enforcement surge by ICE. That's not going to succeed. So it's a pretty silly pointless. Even the CNN lawyers and experts were like, this is pointless and dumb. So, like, it's pointless and dumb, but they're doing it anyway, because the PSYOP must go forward. Trump is to interview Rick Reeder for federal chair role as BlackRock's chief investment officer for global fixed income. Reeder manages approximately $2.4 trillion in assets. So that's the next Fed. Powell, or Jerome Powell, or whatever he is out, and this guy from BlackRock is in. We'll see. That's what might happen. There's this video of a Chinese agent who leaves consulate grounds and walks onto public U.S. sidewalk and just instantly pepper sprays anti-CCP protesters. Here's an example of actual misuse of force, of actual brutality. None of the protesters were even near him. They weren't approaching him aggressively. They didn't make any moves that could even possibly be interpreted as potentially threatening. They were just standing there with signs, and he moves towards them and just liberally pepper sprays them. Gonna be a problem. The CCP is a problem, and when they have agents on U.S. soil attacking U.S. citizens, it's a big problem. So actual use of force, don't see anyone out protesting it. Don't see a big uproar about like these CCP agents are out of control. But actually abusing, actually using unwarranted force, actually against actual U.S. citizens, nobody cares at all. But you have regular ICE agents not abusing, not using excessive force, not attacking U.S. citizens, and everyone is so upset. And let me just tell you, people have sent me, I'm not even lying to you, hundreds of examples of like supposed U.S. citizens supposedly being just attacked by ICE. Out of every single one that I could look through, trying, because I'm like, yeah, maybe I'm not seeing something. All these people are freaking out about ICE. Like maybe I'm not seeing something. So every single one of them that I could look into before I got sick of this pointless task, 100% of them aggressed upon ICE first, obstructed the ICE activities that were legal and lawful, right? Made some moves, whatever, or they were in like a house or a place where a bunch of illegal immigrants and criminals were, and so they got swept up in the raid, and as soon as they found out that that was a U.S. citizen, they released them every single time. So you're telling me all this, but you can't actually show me. And people are like, oh, they came with receipts. What now? I'm like, none of your receipts are receipts. None of them are. Show me one. I'm begging you. If you're going to take this stance that ICE is doing this and they're aggressing upon U.S. citizens, show me. You don't get to just go up to agents and fuck with them and then pretend like ICE is overstepping their bounds. That doesn't count. But if you can show me any time where ICE just went out of their way to go up to a citizen and shove them or spray them or whatever without those people first coming at ICE, I will concede and say, you're right, that happened once out of the thousands of times. Out of all of the deportations, out of all of the raids, out of all of these arrests, no one can show me one. So, and even if you could, and I said this too, even if you could, let's say you did finally come up with one. And it was like, okay, yeah, that was like the CCP agent. This guy just came out and he just like attacked these people for no reason, or he just went into the house and just grabbed a citizen and dragged him away and never released him again. Woo. Sorry. Even if you could show me one, I'd say, yep, that's inappropriate. Let's address it. And also that one to the like hundreds of thousands of actions where it didn't happen. And you're going to tell me this is tyranny? Tyranny. Yeah, you guys have lost your minds. This is the exact same psyop as George Floyd, and nobody cares. All these people who did see through George Floyd and were like, no, I mean, that guy was overdosing, or this was not an excessive use of force, or like, even if it was, it like doesn't deserve for just all these cities in the US to just get burned down and, you know, all this stuff. Everyone who saw through that, for some reason, isn't seeing through this one. Same people are perpetrating it. It's essentially the same angle. And it's just as unsupported by evidence, but people people are going with it. I don't know. I don't know what that is, you guys. As I said, our discernment has to get better and better and better. And if you react emotionally or you react out of your old bias, your presumption is that the government is always wrong or agents of the state are always too forceful or something, you've already lost the plot. You've already lost your ability to figure out what's going on as we move forward, as things are going to get more and more complex, and you're going to get left behind. It's your choice. So yeah. It's wild to see the people who say that they see through psyops falling into a psyop. And when I point all these things out, essentially people have to give in to them just attacking me. I'm like, oh, you think you're spiritual? Huh? It's usually the one, and the next one is, oh, you just think you're always right. I mean, if I'm wrong, show me where I'm wrong. I'm happy. If you've seen me many times admit that I've been wrong about something, show me. You're right. It's funny too. People are like, you always think you're right. I'm like, well, to be fair, I don't. But to be even more fair, doesn't everyone think what they're saying out loud is right? Don't you, in fact, think you're right? So, like, is this supposed to be something bad? Are we supposed to say things we don't think are right? Is that what you think is supposed to happen? And what sucks is that the people who say that to me are generally people who have been wrong more than a few times when we've interacted. And so they're like, you just always think you're right. I'm like, no, I think you have come to realize that you think I'm always right. I don't know. I'm not sure what that accusation's all about, but oh, we've got this homeless task force stuff and all this homeless stuff in California, and people have been pointing out the homeless industrial complex, which is amazing. All of these people and organizations were getting all this taxpayer money to supposedly address the issue of homelessness, and instead they're just getting, it's just like the Minnesota stuff. It's just as fraudulent. They're not actually doing anything, but they're getting millions of dollars. And so one of them was they're there to give alcohol to people who, which is noble, to give alcohol to people who are withdrawing from severe alcoholism. And it is noble because if those people don't get some alcohol, they will die. Your body becomes physically dependent on alcohol, and you have to slowly wean off of it so that you don't die. It's a little bit like heroin in that way. And so to give people, some shots of alcohol, it makes sense. So the plan, the organization, or the stated goal is not crazy. But they say they've served with millions of dollars, something like 60 shots of alcohol. Oh my God. Oh my God. And this list goes on and on too. It's just as bad as the Nick Shirley investigation in Minnesota, all this homeless fraud in California. So the homeless problem is not going to end while people can profit from it, by the way. By the way, back to Minnesota, that money that was being fraudulently given to everyone, they found suitcases of money, $700 million in suitcases trying to be smuggled out of Minneapolis and to Somalia via international flights. That has been confiscated. Some of that money has now been returned, so that's great. It's just going to try whatever they can to get that money. Iran has put out some propaganda that says, how can you be mad that we're killing people? You just killed Renee Good. It's so rich. What? You're allowed to kill your protesters, so we're going to kill ours. And there's dumbasses who are like, yeah, what? You can't go after Iran because you just shot Renee. Okay, guys. Alrighty. If you literally can't understand the difference between a very legal, lawful, constitutional, universal law appropriate and aligned, use of agents who we've given power to do things like this, to remove illegal immigrants and criminals from your midst, to charge them, to hold them, to detain them, to deport them, to all those things. You can't understand the difference between that and viciously suppressing your entire population, forcing them to be a certain religion and murdering them or torturing them if they break your Sharia law. If you literally can't understand the difference between that, God help you. But if you're intellectually honest in any way, You would never compare these two things because they don't have anything to do with each other. People are like, oh, they're both shot by the state, and I'm like, yeah, and they're both humans with fingers, and they're both occurring on Earth, and they're both like under the sky, and like, what are you talking about? None of that matters. The lack of logic in people is stunning. Stunning. It's sad. And so, there was another shooting in Oregon the day after, I think, Renee Good. I'm pretty sure it was the day after. It's poor timing, but it's just how it went down. And so 2 people were shot by ICE, and they were Venezuelan gang members, MS-13 or Tren de Aragua. I think it was Tren de Aragua. So satanic, deeply disturbed, horrifying individuals. And they were shot because they also used their car as a weapon, trying to escape being detained by ICE, and so they were shot. I believe they're both dead. And so the mayor of that city in Oregon came out and was like, I have so much sympathy for our Hispanic community members, and I'm just so sad. And he started crying. He started crying in public for these vicious gang members who resisted arrest and threatened agents' lives and then got shot. Which is fine. You're welcome to do that. There is actually something deeply emotionally wrong with you. You probably shouldn't be in law enforcement at all. You probably shouldn't be in charge of anything at all. Nothing public, nothing that matters. And people might say, like, no, these are the people we want. We want people with compassion and whatever. Sure, you could think that, but if you're fighting a war, what you want are people who can handle themselves and understand what the sides are, what the stakes are, and what the necessary measures might be, and that none of them might be very pleasant, that your life might be in danger frequently, and that you don't break down crying during those moments. I want everyone to have therapy when they're in these types of roles. I want them to cry, just not in public and not while they're carrying out their duties. So there's a difference. Emotional wellness can be achieved without making yourself publicly weak and giving in to these criminals, which are laughing at you. These people who are trafficking children and humans and drugs and torturing people and writing the story about it on their face and tattoos, they are laughing at you. They love that you're out there defending them. They think it's hilarious. You are a useful idiot. That's what they call it, right? You're a tool of those people. And just like everyone who's manipulative and will take advantage of any enabler, they're going to take advantage of your enabling of their destructive horrors. If you don't understand actual evil and actual people who are doing horrendous things, then you might go out and you might try to stop ICE and pretend that it's tyranny. And that psyop might have worked on you, and that's sad. Okay. We talked about that. Truck plowed through an anti-Iranian regime protest in Los Angeles. So again, a lot of Iranian people who fled their highly oppressive regime are in the US, and they are so excited for these protests and that Donald Trump and the government might do something to support their people. But there's apparently some people who will drive their trucks through those people. So that happened in LA. It's not a false flag because you probably didn't hear about it, huh? It's just an actual person actually driving through people. There was also this out of Chicago. A Chicago resident was up in a high-rise and aimed their camera down at the ICE protests right after Renee Good was shot. And they said, don't let the media fool you. These protests are actually very small. And they were pretty small, which is maybe sad in its own right. I think that's actually good to know that it's not as loud and contentious as the media is making it seem, because again, this is a psyop. It doesn't mean that there's not people protesting. It doesn't mean that there's not people actually getting shot. It just means that it's being used in order to create you as a useful tool for them to wield against actual order and not fraud, right? And not stealing your tax dollars and all those things. They can't get away with all those things if they keep this going. They can. And oh, the fires in Patagonia. Apparently on December 9th, my birthday, Milei had announced that foreigners could buy Argentinian land and develop it after fires or disasters. And then Israel bought up a bunch of land in Patagonia, and then all of Patagonia burned down. So not even a conspiracy theory. Like the dots are so immediate and connected that it's pretty obvious, and it's very sad. The people in Patagonia are heart-stricken, as you would be if you watched what they said. Our paradise is burning. I have always wanted to go to Patagonia. I'm sure I won't now if Israel's going to be there controlling everything. But we talked a little bit on day 0 this last Sunday about how Patagonia has always held an interest for Israel, and there might be some occult and other interests there. There's that whole connection with also the sort of Nazis, the Thule, the Ananerabe, and Antarctica, and Argentina, and so very interesting that a lot of people have seemed interested in this land on many sides. So yeah, pretty sad. It didn't. I don't love that about Milei. Other things about him seem pretty cool, but that seemed like a bad move that undermined the people of Argentina. Very sad. Pray for Argentina. Okay. We got that. Got those. Talked about that. Everybody in Argentina, by the way, seems to know it's. I don't think they're very fooled by it. They are pretty up in arms about it, and pretty interesting. So we also have this list of people who ICE has detained, just in case you thought I was making it up, that really horrendous criminals are getting taken out of our communities. We have this just list. We have names, we've got dates, we've got crimes. A Laotian illegal alien whose name I'm not going to pronounce, convicted of strong-arm sodomy of a boy, strong-arm sodomy of a girl, a deportation order since 2018. A Laotian illegal convicted of sexual assault and sodomy of a girl under the age of 13 and procuring child for prostitution, deportation order since 2006. Another Laotian illegal convicted of the strong-arm rape of a 12-year-old girl, kidnapping a child with intent to sexually assault, with a deportation order since 2004. Another Laotian, I don't know why these are all Laotians. They're not all, there's just a lot of them. Strong-arm rape of a child, fondling of a child, rape of a child, rape with a weapon, sexual assault and rape, sexual assault of a child, DUI. All these people with deportation orders, some going back to 1996. Somalian, Mexican, Chinese, homicide, rape, homicide, 3 counts of homicide, another homicide. I'm just reading. I'm not going to read all these people and their stuff. I'm just giving you an idea of their crimes at this point. 2 counts of homicide, deportation orders for all of these people. Homicide, manslaughter, homicide, rape, and homicide. So that's just a short list of some of them from Minnesota, by the way. It's just a few people from Minnesota, their names, their crimes, and how long they've had deportation orders. So when people are like, they're taking our community away, I'm like, is that the community you want? You guys are crazy. You're going to get shot for child rapists? Have fun with that. Also, people are going to so they're anti-Iranian regime, which means they're pro-Iranian people, revolt, pro all of the protests that are going on there. And other people are going there with their kufiya representing Palestine and Hamas and are against the protests, which is one of the most fascinating things I've ever had to think about, that you would be so pro-Hamas that you're anti-freedom for the Iranian people. Blowing my mind. Even if you think that's like some sort of Israeli scheme, again, the people of Iran are actually repressed. They're actually heavily, horribly repressed. So you're willing so much to hate Israel that you will actively try to keep the people there repressed. I'm like struggling with this one. So people are going and clashing with them. I'm like, oh, ballsy. You're ballsy. That's insane to me. Oh God. I don't know, man. That's crazy. I think those people are idiots. Okay. Talked about that. I don't know, dude. I don't want to translate something right now. The Chinese Communist Party is up in arms. They're upset about Venezuela. Now they're going to get upset about Iran, and they're essentially feeling on the run. We have routed them a few times. We are, the fifth generation nonlinear war is one that we seem to be winning at the moment, and they don't like that. So there's more and more drills out of China, more and more shows of military might and strength, more and more, again, as we saw, they're trying to, get into Iran and get some more weaponry and stuff into Iran. And so they're pretty upset. So we're seeing it in all of these ways. So that seems to be heating up. And Crown Prince Reza of Saudi Arabia, I'm guessing Saudi Arabia, says the world today stands with your national revolution to the people of Iran, even though they're also Islamic dictatorship. And in particular, President Trump, he's ready to help you. I knew he will soon be on your side. That's what he says in support of the people of Iran. This was an interesting poll. This is from, is it Rasmussen? I don't remember. Let's see. Who did the poll? Signal, Cignal. They asked voters, is violence against ICE to prevent immigration raids acceptable? Overall, 70% of people said no. So that's definitely hopeful. That makes me very hopeful. And 24% of people said yes. That's somewhat what you would expect. It's a little bit higher than I would have ever hoped for, but you're always going to expect about 10% of the population to be sort of like on some sort of extreme end of things, right? So it's a bit higher, but still not horrible. You're kind of like, okay, at least 70% of people are normal. But amongst white women, if they broke it down to just white women who self-identify as liberal or leftist or Democrat, right? Self-identify as such, 18 to 44, it's flipped. 61% say that yes, it's acceptable to commit violence in order to stop raids. 30%, only 30% say no. Almost perfectly flipped. So it really is white women. When people talk about this as a white woman problem, they're not wrong. It's not just that like Renee Good happened to be white and her, lesbian wife happened to be a white woman. It's not just that. It's that this is an actual phenomenon. So when you look at the protests, against ICE, against Trump, you're going to see almost ubiquitously white boomers. And when you look at the people who are in the streets actively trying to get in ICE's way, you're going to see overwhelmingly white women. When you look on TikTok and social media, like who are the people who are actively promoting you to go out and get in ICE's face and be violent, it's overwhelmingly white women. And some people were joking, like, good luck with these riots, because unlike with George Floyd, like, Black people aren't going to come out for you in numbers, right? It's going to be all boomers and white women. So you're not going to get far, which is a funny question to ask if that's true or not, right? There's definitely, of course, people of all colors at these protests, but you see overwhelmingly there's this white female problem and maybe a boomer problem, and that's about it. So I've got a problem here with some white women. Y'all white women need to get some therapy. Oh, talked about that. So what also is funny is some of these protesters, some of the, police chiefs and like the local politicians and the city council members who have been like, we're with you guys, go out and riot and like get ICE out of here and all of that sort of rhetoric. You don't want this smoke and all of that stuff. Those people, some of them have gone to some of these protests and riots and they've been attacked by the protesters, by the rioters. They've been run out by them, and it has the exact same energy as those fools who were during the BLM were like, we're on your side, we're on your side, and their windows are getting broken and their businesses are getting burned down, and you're like, did you think these people were rational? Yeah, good luck with that. Go be on their side, you freaks. And so another really cool protest in Ireland, also in France and some other places. We still got the farmers who are still out. They are not letting this go. Their food security, they want to keep there. They're trying to shut down all the farms in these areas and then have food imported from halfway around the world to make it so that people are controllable. That's the only reason you would do that. We always want to keep our food close by to us and in control of it. And they know that. So they've been fighting all of these, supposedly green. Oh, this is for the environment. Doesn't even make sense. None of it's even logical once you look into it. But that's their argument. And so they're getting past all of these, EU, UN type agendas, and they're keeping food local. So good on them. You love to see it. Big win. I'm not reading this. This is too dark. We don't need it. It's just a footnote anyway. Some serial killer somewhere. But Trump did send extra ICE agents to Minneapolis. He's like, not only are we not leaving, sending more people. Oh, we already got this. Supposedly Musk is making Twitter, the algorithms and the coding on the back end of things open source so that it's transparent and everyone can see exactly what's going on, which is cool. I like that. If that's actually how it goes, it's great. Everyone wants to know what's going on, right? Yes, we do. European farmers, several nations talked about that. And this. We also had that propaganda coming out about like the accounts from Venezuela. I feel like I talked about this, but maybe I didn't. That when we went in and got Maduro, they were like, it was chilling. It was just like, 4 helicopters, 8 men each, and they came in and it was like their guns were almost automatically just finding the hearts and brains of hundreds of guards. And, in a minute, everyone was dead and we didn't even understand how you could shoot that accurately. And then there was these sounds and our brains were bleeding and like whatever. And then they just got through steel doors like they were made of putty. And it just goes on and on about like how just amazing the show of force was and how technologically advanced it was. And that's definitely propaganda. And it might have happened, but you have to ask yourself, who's the guy that saw it all and didn't die and then lived to tell and then got someone's ear and then was able to overcome the algorithms and then we all heard about it, right? So just like the internal bleeding, there's truth in it. All propaganda has some truth in it. It's just, how true is it? Yeah, it's questionable. NASA ordered Crew 11 mission to return early from the International Space Station on January 14th after a medical concern with an astronaut. I don't know what or why. They might try to say there's like a space bug and now they're back on Earth and they've landed. And they might try to say that the space bug is infecting everyone and killing everyone. If that happens, don't believe the hype. Is there something else going on? Maybe, I don't know. Who cares? Were they even in the ISS is always the question, right? Is anyone even anywhere? Is any of this happening? Is always the question. So I'm watching for that. We'll keep our eye on whether they're trying to pretend some weird space virus is killing us. It's impossible, by the way. It's not even a thing that could happen, but definitely people would buy it, right? This invader from outside and the solar system got us. So don't buy it. Don't buy the hype if that's what ends up happening. If this story just goes away and becomes nothing, cool. Good. Trump has called for a 1-year cap on credit card usury, which is the percentage, you pay of interest, to a 10% maximum effective January 20th. That's fantastic. I don't know if you noticed this back when I was first doing credit cards in 1998. The interest rates were like 2%, like 4 maybe. I think the worst credit card I ever had before 2022 or so was like 6%. Most of the time it was 0% because I would just switch. I would just switch anytime I, was past the introductory 0% thing. I would just switch to a new card and whatever. And so that was the first time. And now most credit cards, no matter what your credit score is, are like at least 16, and often up to like 28, 26 or so. I think it caps at 26, but whatever, up to the max. So crazy interest rates. And if you're smart, you still don't pay it because you pay off your card every month and you don't use your credit card for anything that you weren't already going to buy and be able to afford. That's always the best way, right? But yeah, capping it at 10 sounds nice for all of us. So I'll take it. I'll take it. I bet you like it too. All federal funding to Minnesota was stopped. I thought we already talked about that last week, but that's for the USDA, the Department of Agriculture. So that's one way to get illegal immigrants off the dole, is to stop funding the state that is supporting them altogether. And so that's good. It's a good start. Apparently, we talked about Rob Reiner and his wife being murdered. It was initially just instantly sort of pinned on the son, but the attorney for the son suddenly quit the case, but adamantly publicly declared that Nick Reiner, the son, is not guilty, but also that he wasn't going to continue on the case, which is very interesting. And it makes me wonder, since his son had so many issues, if he's just a convenient patsy, if there was some sort of high level op, or, some sort of, Clinton-esque, right? Like high intrigue sort of murder, and that he's just this convenient patsy, and that perhaps the lawyer would then step down because of perceived threats if he were successful in getting this kid off out of his charges, right? Or real threats. So really interesting. I don't know the situation. Maybe I'll sit down and try to get some intuition, inspiration, channeled information about that, but probably not. It's kind of boring. So anyways, 18-year-old has pled guilty to murdering his mom and stepdad to fund his Trump assassination plot. This is how crazy everyone is. I don't care if you like Trump or hate him or whatever, but like, you're gonna kill your parents to get their money to try to go kill Trump. I mean, it's the kid is crazy. You don't just end up there. No matter how much the media or the psyops or the whatever have gotten into your head, no matter how much TDS you've got, like, you still don't just like kill everyone. So there's obviously other things going on. Just very sad that it hinges on that, right? That like this propaganda and these psyop wars have to involve people in such a way. Very, very sad. I don't know. So I actually meant to look into this and I have not been able to, but this CIA video surfaced allegedly, and it's a 10-year-old documentary about EMP attacks and US power grid vulnerability. And apparently Erica Kirk is in it. She's kind of like a main role in it. She's like guiding people through, teaching them. She's like the presenter of this. But this, it says, is a clip that comes from the public 2015 documentary Black Start. This is the reader context added by X, so maybe we'll get somewhere here. Because I was like, if this is true, that is actually, right, one of the first things about Erica Kirk that's actually very interesting. But so let's see. 2015 documentary called Black Start on grid threats, not a CIA produced film. It's available on YouTube. It features Erica Francevay, before she was Kirk, presenting alongside former CIA director James Woolsey. Her family's business includes EMP protection tech. So yeah, not weird at all. We already knew her mom did that. I mean, people, that's still interesting. I don't know, or people still find that to be like this big red flag, and that somehow proves that she was in on Charlie Kirk's assassination. And again, it's still possible. It's really not indicative that she was. It's her winning a beauty pageant and her mom having one contract with the military and working on EMP protection after her life of sort of having some background in that is not, it's not in itself weird. And people are like, so when do the coincidences stop being coincidences? Is that a coincidence? I don't, again, I'm not saying has nothing to it. I'm saying it in itself doesn't really show us anything or tell us anything except that her mom had the business we already knew about and had the contract we already knew about, and that she worked in support of her mom's business for that moment, at least. That's not weird. Most families do, right? So, yeah, I don't know. There we are. There we are. But yeah, maybe she's been an agent all along, and she was sent in as the female sort of handler for Charlie Kirk, and maybe the weirder things have definitely happened. That they can sort of like know ahead of time who might be really powerful. Not also not sort of like impossible, especially for occult practitioners, esoteric practitioners, magic, especially black magic practitioners, which many of them are, to be able to see sort of like some aspects of the future. Many of us have those capabilities, to be able to hone them in more specifically, to be able to perhaps even read like birth charts and just see, oh, this person is it, like they're gonna capture the attention of the masses or whatever. It's not impossible. And to then have someone like Erica, who's beautiful and probably able to seduce nearly anyone, and to maybe have her then be, usually though, like I said before, you have to be raised from childhood in the sort of black magic tradition, in the sort of often really insane child abuse, sexual abuse, and more, in order to break someone, or rather, what it actually is implant them with a connection to a dark entity, and therefore be able to use them or control them or reliably expect them to maintain your secrecy and your malevolent intent without showing it to anyone. And so that's usually how it's done. And so maybe she has that. But like I said before, usually in those families, the father and mother don't split up, and hers did. And usually the mother wouldn't have waited so late in life to be used by government agencies if she were in like that. And so those are kind of unusual as far as those patterns tend to go. And so that leads me again to be like, I don't think it's that interesting, actually. So yeah, that's where I'm at on it. It's like, sure, she could be, but we still don't, for me, have enough evidence to say like she is, and nobody likes that about me, but that's okay. So blah blah blah. We have more angles on the car hitting the officer that shot Renee Good, and that he was actually hit before he shot, and that's how that goes. Sia Weaver is a Mamdani pick on his office to protect tenants. And she was going to pay for collective ownership of things by printing money. That's her attention. People said, how are you going to pay for all of this, public housing, collective ownership stuff? And she said, well, the government prints money. We'll just print money. Literally, she said that. People clown her relentlessly. So they're like proving that communists make it up as they go along and have no idea what they're talking about. That's New York's leadership right now. That's them. The devil, right? Bible sales in the UK had a record high, driven by a surge in interest from Gen Z, with numbers up 134% over the past 6 years. Yeah, we've been talking about that surge. It's been going on. Charlie Kirk also caused another worldwide surge when he was assassinated. So it's there. It's happening. The Arizona Senate audit confirmed beyond a shadow of a doubt that the 2020 election was not, in fact, as solid as they had said it was. This is, I think, now the third state that we have non-contestable, verifiable, actual evidence that everyone has to admit that election was fraudulent, and so yeah, you'd think that it would just be like open news. Everybody's talking about, yep, we finally proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that election should have gone the other way, but no, nobody is saying that. So I'm not sure exactly why I was talking about that, but it's pretty weird. So we have Georgia, we have Arizona now, and we have Oregon, like I just said. Oregon didn't come out and say that that election was fraudulent, but they said they had to purge 800,000 people from their rolls. A lot of these states were very close. I don't know that Oregon actually played a role because Oregon's usually just full blue anyway, but interesting stuff. Enough to have overturned the election. So, as we all knew, and nothing new to you all. So-called experts had predicted that poverty in Argentina would skyrocket when Milei took over and obliterated the welfare state, but actually poverty has sunk, and all of the metrics are that the economy and the people there are better off, which is great. Outside of the Patagonia wildfires, things seem to have been going very well there. We already talked about the farmers' revolts and that they're winning. We talked about Minneapolis canceling school until February 12th. Investigations trace George Soros funding to 54 groups directly linked to anti-ICE and domestic terrorism situations. That's one of the funders. I think it's in tonight's episode as well that we also have some wealthy Chinese Communist Party funders, but maybe I talked about that last week. But those have also been discovered. So literally the CCP is funding these. Literally our enemies are funding you all. So if you're in on the PSYOP and you're for it, like, useful idiot, you're a tool. Okay. A bunch of rhetoric that's dumb. Trump might sign an executive order before the midterm elections eliminating mail-in ballots and voting machines. That'd be so rad. I don't know that that's legal or possible, but if it happens, I would love it. I would love it. Just see what happens. See what happens with a vote that doesn't have machines or mail-in. What if like the whole country was just like dead red? I just want to know. I just want to find out. That'd be interesting as all get out. Man, my computer's slow. I hope this audio and everything is coming through fine. It's supposed to fix it even if it's not, but you all know what happens to my stuff usually. Like, yeah, it's a feature for everyone. We have no idea why yours always gets messed up. Who cares? Bye. Thanks, guys. Minnesota also, Treasury Secretary Bessent said, if you're on public assistance, you can't wire money out of the country. Can't carry it out in briefcases, can't wire it out. I love it. That's how it should be. Trump cut the trade deficit in half. It's the lowest in nearly 2 decades. Nobody on the other side likes to admit it, but that's true. Call it a win if you like that. Medical students in America starting next fall will be studying nutrition as part of their requirement for graduation. Should have always been, but isn't. It's crazy, right? That just nutrition, just that would already change so much in our medical care. So thank God things are changing. Things are really improving for the MAHA thing, the Make America Healthy Again, all of that, the food pyramid, all the vaccine changes that are happening, like so much. Love it. All the stuff that can be sold in schools. You know, Michelle Obama like fucked our children hard. And that's all being undone. We can have milk again in schools. You can have sugar again, which you might think that sounds bad, but in place of sugar, they were doing sugar-free beverages. All of the dispensers and lunch items you could get were all sugar-free, which is like aspartame and stuff, as though that's better than sugar. So no, we're undoing all that. That's good. There's so much. It's all good. Secretary of DHS says, oh, we already talked about that, out of Oregon. Trump stunned experts by announcing the purchase of $200 billion in mortgage bonds. There's another thing you probably haven't heard. To immediately drive down mortgage rates. Instructing my representatives to buy $200 billion in mortgage bonds. This will drive mortgage rates down, monthly payments down, and make the cost of owning a home more affordable. So again, that sounds great. I mean, I don't know any downsides to that. And if it does help normal people, like good, and still people will be like, he's not doing anything. Kill him. Like people are crazy, dude. You don't have to like love him to be like, that's good. Thank you. Thanks for the help. You know, you're allowed to celebrate things you like. Also in Maha, RFK Jr. is sending $700 million of the USDA, I believe, to regenerative agriculture. Did you ever think you were going to hear that said out loud, dude? Good God, that's great. That's amazing. Please bring more of that. More and more and more of that. Oh. Blah, 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 blah. Things we've already talked about. La, la, la. Ooh, last thing. Trump family's World Liberty Financial has applied for a U.S. banking license. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I don't know. Why not? If it's legal and you're allowed to, get it. Get it. Do your thing. So that's that. Yeah, man, I hope we get more and more into regenerative agriculture. I think I talked about last week too, how they're going to allow small farms to slaughter their own animals to sell the meat. They've often had to like send it out to some USDA approved whatever, and then like have it back. And then in order to have it slaughtered there, they have to have all the injections and the vaccines and the whatever. And so it's just this way of forcing your meat to be poisoned. And so they're going to free that up, and we're all going to have better meat and better food. And let's keep that going, right? These are real, tangible wins that we've been having with RFK Jr., everything he's doing. And again, people are mad. They're like, no, but this hasn't been done yet, but that hasn't been done yet. Well, okay, there's 3 more years to go. Calm down. Like, we've done a lot in a year. You don't know what's going to happen next. It could be greater than all that's happened already, which has already been great. And Trump too sounds like he's delivering on everything. I think the main thing that people are criticizing him for is his foreign policy and his geopolitical, things that are happening, and that like we wanted no intervention, and there's these interventions going on. But I'll say to at least consider, at least stop and just wonder, what if the Chinese Communist Party in Russia were actually about to really pull some wild stunts and really get in deeper than they have been before? They're already, at least the CCP, controlling our elections via Argentina and Smartmatic and those things. They were already infiltrated our media. They've already infiltrated all of our infrastructure, our power grids and all of this, all of our electronics and media. They already have all of that. A bunch of their spies have been embedded. We've had also biological labs that they've been running out of like U-Haul, containers and shit, like crazy shit. And what if that threat was actually such that something had to be done? And what if what has been done actually kept you free in a sovereign state? What if? Just wonder. Just ask yourself if it's possible. And then maybe just go from there. And until you wonder and ask yourself things that are outside of your expectations and your biases, travel well, aim for balance, and always look inside first.
To them screens, it's a plot to drop the IQ. Fighting amongst each other over rumors that don't like you. Prefer trapped in melancholy with the wood ones of holly. Suggestions that obliterate to camouflage the folly. Attempt the mental robbery, executed softly. The pomp proceed as mockery and walk the talk with me. Put the hands up to touch the Akasha, cause you know deep down there's something bigger than your wallet.